we are here today because my dear friend Adam, who is a magical practitioner as myself, he is my arm. Oh, thank you. He approached me because I talked to him and told him that I'm doing this segment every week, that I wanted to speak with people that I know are entrenched in tarot, that we've been doing the work for a very long time. And I asked you to come up with a topic that you wanted to talk about, because you're an extremely knowledgeable person. You think deeply, which is something that I value in in conversation and dialogue, and it's something that we talk about a lot, is our magical practice. And so you came up with the idea for tarot as a magical focal point for the practitioner.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you arrived at that topic?
At the topic, so I feel like it's important for people to develop a relationship with the tarot deck when reading or when beginning that journey of the tarot, the art of tarot. And so I feel like for those who are serious, this topic is deep. I know that there's been a theme of kind of being vulnerable and kind of doing the shadow work and working with your inner demons, if you will. I know that you posted a video earlier talking about the dark moon and the new moon coming up and what phase we're in. And so the reason why I figured it would be good for the serious practitioner is because it requires a really introspective look at where you are magically and with the tarot itself, and developing that relationship with the tarot deck. So a lot of people will come to the deck, wanting to read for themselves or wanting to do readings for other people, and not really knowing the full extent of its capabilities in your life, and understanding who you are and understanding who other people are and how you can interact interpersonally with that. But not just that, outside of that, using the deck and the imagery to kind of align your goals, ambitions, and what you're wanting to manifest in your own life with the tarot deck as an art form.
Yeah, this is actually a really timely topic. I guess I didn't realize how very timely it was when you said that that's what you wanted to do. But we're in February, and every year people do create their new goals, their resolutions, and what it is that they want for the whole of that calendar year to look like. So it's perfect for us to find that alignment, especially since right about now everyone's starting to fall off of their goals and not feel that oomph behind it.
Right.
So additionally, we are in Mercury retrograde, which I know everyone seems to believe that's a bit of a dirty word.
Everyone usually starts shitting and pissing on themselves when they're just like, it's Mercury retrograde, oh my God. And what I think people need to realize is that it's also a time to examine, like you're saying, what falls through, what holds water, and what you can actually bank on during a Mercury retrograde. So it's, they say it's great for the re-words, re-examine, reevaluate, and research, review. However, I would add to that, what you have in motion that is real, it continues through the retrograde. It's irrelevant, actually, to what may be going on in the back of a Cosmo magazine or the newspaper. It's really, once again, your magical practice. And magical practice, let me just say that everyone should have their own definition of magic, as well as understand the classical textbook definitions of magic. Whether it's Crowleyan magic or, ancient Egyptian magic or Tibetan mysticism, occultism magic, you just having an understanding of where it has fit into human culture and what it means, and then having your own definition of magic, because to me, part of my definition is it is an art. In all forms of art, there is a magic within it. It is the ability to influence and sometimes create change within people's consciousness via music, via an image, via a movement of some kind. So with that being said, reviewing everything that is not working for you and coming back to yourself, the true blue self, is imperative in your magical work. So I think Mercury retrogrades can be beautiful for
Absolutely.
for thinking on that.
I know that in this culture, we're constantly with the push forward, do more, and we definitely have a lot of emphasis on looking at our value based on our productivity. But with Mercury retrograde, it's a space for us to slow the fuck down and begin to see what's going on in our world, and and reorient ourselves, make sure that we're heading in the right direction. Because the thing I love about plans, we have a plan for where we want to be. We have point A, we have point B, and how we get there, is the journey, and that's going to change as we begin to see what the terrain is like.
Yeah.
So a plan, just tells you when you're off track, but sometimes being off track is part of.
It can be, there can be happy accidents for sure, and there can be horrible ones. But it's like all through that is it's imbuing you with the tools and the understanding and wisdom of creating in your life. That's the way I feel it should be anyway.
So I want to go back to what you were saying about having your own definition and understanding of what is magic. Can you talk? I'm going to look here to see. Hello, I miss you as well, sweetheart. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be responding on 2 different spots. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to send them at any given point in time. But what I was saying was that having your definition of what is magic, I would love to hear how you arrived at yours. And if you could tell us how you view magic. What do you see it as?
So I guess I've always, like all of us, I'm sure, have had, if you're watching this, you've had some interest in occultism or mysticism, or for a lot of people, Wicca and things like that. And then of course if it's real, it usually winds up turning into an actual study of the classical magics and whatnot and occult studies. And for me, what I've come to at this point in my life is understanding it as the things that are very subtle that appear, the coincidences, if you want to use that, become more profound and less coincidence and more intentional. Like they just happen. It's finding the right person that you kind of are expecting, but not expecting. You're doing 50% of the work, and the universe is doing the other 50%. Yeah. Or the non-physical is doing the other 50%. I don't like to put my definition of magic into words because I feel like it loses that component. The best thing I can say is it's if you were to sum it up just like the tarot deck and bringing it back around to what we're talking about, it is an image that arrests you, that locks you into a state of consciousness that conveys something that is an emotion and or a feeling. And that is what the tarot deck is. It's kind of this platform for bringing to the surface underlying emotions. And as a reader, it's your job to connect with the querent, the cards, and interpret those cards and those emotions to the querent. So magic it's a feeling, and it's a manifestation, and it's none of those things all at the same time. So it's something I don't like to verbalize too much.
Understood. Okay, so you want to you play with the energy, essentially.
Let's say that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that energy can come in the form of music, words, images, events, actions, things like that. And that's typically how it happens when you're wanting to bring about change or see something manifest.
Yeah, I feel that 80%, maybe even 90% of magic is about intention. It's absolutely about a focused intention and creating that, making it manifest within your world. You know? So how is it that you would recommend for somebody who wanted to work with the tarot in order to bring about an intention?
So one, I would say developing your relationship with the tarot deck. So it's going to be a lot of, I want to start with what you kind of have sewn into the theme of your broadcasts, which are be doing some self-inventory and doing some shadow work and doing some internal digging. And I guess what I mean by that is sitting with the deck and letting it speak to you, in the sense of just letting it be and incorporating it into all aspects of your life. So, for example, when the tarot deck first found me, they're like cats with me. They just come to me. I honestly have never bought a deck, and I have a lot. So they just seem to like come to me. And the first time it came to you was 9 years old, and it was a French fortune-telling divination deck, and that was the very first deck that I got. And it was in like this prize box. I'd won like a something for doing something, I don't even know. But I picked that, so it called to me, and I had it. And then it was later on in life, another deck was given to me, and I started using it everywhere I could. So I would go out partying, drinking, dancing in my early 20s, and I had a deck with me. And I would read for random people anywhere and everywhere on the fly. And I would just force myself into uncomfortable situations to read, just read. And it taught me so much about that. Now, that was part of me developing that relationship. Now, in understanding the technical definitions of the textbook versions of the cards, I feel like that's important. But the most important thing as far as a magical work is imbuing your life into those cards. So there are powerful archetypes, as we know, within the cards, like the Tower deck, or the Tower card, I'm sorry. So the Tower in history, it has a prolific history as far as in our subconscious mind and in actual events in our human history. So if you take the Tower of Babel, if you take the Twin Towers of 9/11,
the Tower of London.
The Tower of London. You know, all of those things, they all speak and they all hold some kind of power. So, and in the collective consciousness as well, because there have been massive events that have this energy attached to them, and recognizing them within the cards, and then utilizing utilizing that power, that energy in your work, only adds to your art form, only adds to your magic. So, for example, the Pentacles, the suit of Pentacles, that's when you get the job. What does that one image speak to you when you first got your first paycheck, or when you graduated from college with a degree? What card can you imbue that feeling with, that resonates with that feeling, that emotion, that aligns with it? Now, when you begin reading for other people, if you do read for other people, it only imbues it even further with that collective consciousness. So if you have a set intention to manifest something, or to create something, or to see something, or deeper into something, you call upon those cards to do just that align with that energy. And that is all based on developing this relationship with the tarot deck.
Yeah, so one of the things that I love about the tarot is that because the images have been present for so long, and we have an understanding that is very much in the subconscious of the populace, because it's been through so many different cultures. So it resonates for everybody. And the fact that you can find a tarot deck that goes along with your cosmology, anyone's cosmology, because there are millions of tarot decks out there, I feel that it does work. No matter what your cosmology looks like, you can find a tarot deck that aligns with that. At the same time, the tarot itself has its own cosmology aspect to it, so it is a way to relate to the universe. I like that idea. So when you when you find one that you want to focus on, how do you actually use that in magical ritual, or how do you create magic yourself?
I create it in ritual. So I would create it in setting the space. One, setting the intention, readying oneself to facilitate the energy and the intention, and then using and calling out the cards. And sometimes they'll present themselves in a certain way. What I love about the tarot is that it's like flipping a coin, only you're using a whole deck. It's an unbound book. So you're shuffling the stories, you're shuffling the chapters, and chance, if you will, is intervening and speaking to you about what is. And when you are setting an intention in an educated sense, in the sense of understanding what you're doing with your intention as a magical practitioner, those cards will come. You know, they're gravitating towards you. Your gravity with that intention is calling to that, and of course you're looking for that card, or you know the card already. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in my career, I am a realtor, and one card that keeps coming to my mind is the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is, you know, the woman who has worked really hard, the person who's worked really hard to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And what resonates more with that than a piece of real estate that is an asset that reflects upon one's own personal wealth and riches. So there's depth of meaning within it, and that's you know, that's how I create the space, create the intention, create the physical sense of facilitating that energy, and then creating the outward space. And that card or cards are part of that. I do love candles as well, and candles can help whatever really gets you, because you are the conduit overall in bringing that. So that is how I do that.
Excellent. So I'm what I'm seeing, just so that to be sure that I understand, and so that everyone out there can also hear a different perspective. What I understand is from what you have just said, I see two different ways that you could play very intensely with the idea of manifestation and using the cards in ritual. You spoke of working with the cards and seeing what comes up. So I know that a lot of people in their rituals use divination as a practice, right? So just to look into the situation. Typically what I will do is do divination prior to see what energy is surrounding my intention, so that I can then choose which card is the archetype that I want to use to manifest the goal. So I will choose my card and focus on that card during the ritual in almost a meditation sense. Does that sort of resonate, or is that in alignment with how you believe that?
That's definitely one aspect of it, for sure. Yeah. And I can say that is something that I have done, maybe not thought out, but it's something that I definitely do, you know? It's kind of like, okay, what's going on? However, if there's something dead, like that I'm dead set on, that I am zeroed in on, and that's exactly what it is, I will go straight for the card. And I'll pull it from multiple decks. And I'll want it there. Now, one thing on that note, saying that, when I do readings for people, I read with more than one deck. I read with 3.
Oh, really?
Yes. And nice. What's wonderful about that, and what will help in divination and kind of wanting to get a clearer picture, is that you will find that there will be a repeating card that comes up almost in the same position. And that is kind of where the theme goes. So you are really laying it on chance, if you will. And then it really gives that non-physical intelligence, you know, room to really come through clearly, is using more than one deck. So when I'm reading for someone and it's not clear, let's use the other deck. And we'll shuffle through the other deck, and we'll lay out 3 cards or so, and voila, it's repeating. Sometimes more than one card. In readings, I've had the same 3 cards come up not exactly 3 times, but pretty, all the cards are saying the same thing, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I've never used more than one. Well, that's not true. I have paired oracle decks with my tarot decks, or runes and tarot together. As a way to just get more insight into a situation.
I recommend it.
Yeah?
It's fun. I mean, it's really cool. One deck for sure will kind of, for me, always kind of call to me a little bit more. Will have a little bit more like weight and gravity to it. But I love it because it really says something about what's happening in the reading.
Excellent. I like that idea. I've never actually considered using more than one. I usually, when I go to festivals or have somebody that I'm doing a reading for, I do the same thing where I'll usually have multiple decks around me, and I'll choose the one that I feel is calling to me, because typically the images that are on that are the ones that are, aligned with their understanding. And I just let Spirit tell me which deck that's going to be. So.
There'll be times that I let the querent pick, but overall, I'll just kind of start with what I have.
Oh, I never let them pick.
You never let them pick?
Not really, no.
Sometimes you have to take control, because it's kind of like it's like it's this little scared kid. They're like, I just don't know. Help, please, oh God. So usually I'll go for the prettiest one, because it usually helps. Yeah, I'll just be like, okay, well, this one's nice and glittery, so we'll use this one and whatnot. But anywho.
So, you talk about gaining a relationship with the cards. Next week's topic, I don't have a guest, but I was going to talk to folks about how to meditate with cards, different ways to meditate and gain access to other aspects of your understanding, like connect pathways within your mind through meditation, so that you can begin to integrate the tarot as part of your consciousness and awareness and cosmology. But can you speak with us about ways that you would say that you can create that connection with the tarot?
I would say pick a bitch in your life. I'd say pick somebody in your life that just chaps your ass. And I'm going somewhere with this. And I mean, and then take the cards that just take all the cards and keep going through them in your hand. And then that card will stop. And now that card is now that energy of that person. Of everything that is. Now let me back it up a little bit. Let's take the Queen of Swords. Let's take a boss bitch who just may be real hard on you, and somebody who's really, really just chaps your ass, However, they do it because they're no nonsense, get to the point, cut the crap kind of thing. That is that card now, that feeling. Now, when it comes up in a reading, when you're reading for yourself or someone else, chances are that person is dealing with that energy. So developing a relationship with the card is just that. It's kind of like, what was the hottest sex you ever had? Okay, go through the deck. Start going through it. Now, whatever you're feeling presently and currently, use that. And that is what's really going to imbue the cards with your life experience. It's kind of like, using the cards as a touchstone. And, if it's the hot sex, it's a touch bone. But, it's like... use the Ace of Wands, it'll be something like that. It's that experience that you had, that you are developing this relationship. It is your paintbrush when you are creating something. This is only one mode of art, our magical art form. So that is what I mean by developing a relationship. It is really getting yourself into the deck and letting the deck show itself to you in life, in living, in dealing with people and going through different situations, and letting the cards manifest in your conscious mind. And that is when it becomes real. That's when it becomes magic. That's when it starts to really kind of just sync with you. So then
each card, then you can relate it to an instance or a space within your own life, so that you understand the energy that is present when you're reading for somebody else. Got it.
And not only that, but that energy that you create with the other person is adding to that collective energy when you use it in your private work. You are now imbuing it with even more. It's like seasoning, or it's like marinating, with that energy. When someone loses someone, or has lost something, or has come to a point in their life that there is death, not always a physical death, but something you cannot return to. That, for example, death can be compared to going through a birthday. As ironic as that is, you can never return to the age you were. You can never go back to an era that is gone. And some things that is death. It's the turning of a chapter. It's the end. You can't go back. that is imbued within the cards when you read for other people. Those things that they're ending, or they're having to go through something, or they're walking through a grief. On that note, while I'm still on that, is like talking about that whole shadow self and whatnot. I know that you had mentioned in, I guess, 2 episodes back, an episode or so ago, talking about doing the shadow work when you start reading for yourself and being afraid of certain things or going through that. That is the most powerful magical practice you can probably do, because it is.
Yes.
People think that you going through this doing this work is it is fun. However, the real aspects of magic are painful, because those are the most revealing truths about who you are, which is forgiveness, for example, can be incredibly revealing of the depths of your being, like where your hang-ups are, what your capacity for healing and helping other people heal as well. It says so much about who you are. Love is not always warm and fuzzy. Love is not always the cuddly things. Sometimes it is saying goodbye, and sometimes it is that aspect of life. So all of that is within the cards. All of those things are written in the cards. And so where does that sit for you as a reader, as a magical practitioner? And how can you use that as an art? Those are rhetorical questions. Those are for you to answer. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing about doing your shadow work, about really diving deep within that, and looking at your triggers, looking at the things that you need to deal with, it helps us. Most people are reactionary beings. We have stimulus that's presented to us, and we react to it rather than taking action. And that's what I believe Crowley speaks about when he talks about will with a capital W, is to get rid of all of the reaction aspects and the triggers and the things that keep us from actually being our authentic self and functioning in alignment with spirit. So to do the shadow work is to strip off all the trauma, all the pain, and act as the fool in many ways, to go forth with faith, knowing that we have a direction.
It's the fool getting launched into the high priestess. It's the fool going into something that you have to go through it yourself. I feel like it puts the safety on the triggers, if you will. Going in and knowing that you can respond instead of react to a situation, which comes with practice. I mean, that's not easy, but it definitely is more about responding instead of reacting. And once again, the tarot can be a means to all of that. It's very psychological, it's very emotional, and it can be for other people. So it's it's an incredible tool for shadow work.
I think that is another reason that when you are choosing your deck, the deck that you are going to work with, it is important that it have images that speak to you directly. My first deck, I honestly don't even recall what it was, but it was definitely not the Rider-Waite. I've never ever felt drawn to that, and that's one of the things I speak of regularly, because so many people that I know were told or taught and still believe that is the deck that you begin with. You begin with the Rider-Waite. I personally don't teach that. When I'm teaching tarot, I teach that it is important that we have there's such a wide array of images, and our symbolism is very unique to us. So we have to find the one that definitely resonates with us and speaks to us, because that is going to make the journey easier for us to tap into.
I agree. I don't think the Raider deck is like, it was never the original tarot to begin with. It originated in Italy, the Roman area, that part of the world. And they were known as sortas. They were these little paintings on small cards, and they were used by poets and artists to invoke inspiration to create around those images. That's very tarot. That's like, okay, that's very cool. And that's exactly when that particular deck was made. That's exactly what the artist did. She went into like a trance, she put on some Beethoven, and she started painting the cards. Of course, with some occultish things behind them and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But just to begin with that, because you have to, is kind of nonsense. I think that's very silly.
Absolutely. Well, there's that's one of I have a whole section in my forthcoming tarot book that is about the myths surrounding tarot and tarot practice, because I want to dispel a lot of that. Plus, I'm not really a conventional thinker overall. I like your reaction. Like, no, you're not.
Well, are we both? So
neither of us are. That's why
That's why we're clicking.
So one of the things that is, that you had mentioned early on is using tarot as a means of manifestation. And we talked about it a little bit before we started the video even, that we can use it in our business spaces. How have you used that in your business spaces?
I can't say that I've entirely used it in my business space. It's appeared, for example, the Nine of Pentacles. It's something that just resonates. The Ten of Chalices is another one that kind of resonates within, the real estate world, if you will. That familial inheritance, not necessarily, material, but it's definitely tradition and things like that. It hasn't made a debut yet, but it definitely has crossed my mind as far as using some of the imagery somewhat as a sigil in my work. But I can't say for like currently, in all honesty, I can't see it like, as an actual little idol. I do have a little Buddha that my little money doll, a friend of mine calls it, my little Hotep, little fat one. He has traveled with me.
Yes.
Once I accidentally left him at a bar and I had to go pick him up from behind the tap line. But he's gone places with me. That's about really it.
Yeah.
That is not to say that it doesn't come up in my mind when I am working on a day-to-day basis.
Well, so two things there. I feel that, as you said, when we integrate and understand the tarot, all 78 cards as different aspects of our world, right? It becomes a language that we speak and see the world through.
Right.
So them coming up in your mind is also a form of manifestation, because our minds don't necessarily understand the difference between the concrete and the visualized. So in essence, if it does come up, I suppose we can focus on it in the moment, like what it is that we're trying to manifest. If we're in, a job interview, maybe we have the,
Right. I think well, like I was saying earlier, it's a means of aligning yourself. And when you're creating the space itself for a ritual of manifestation, that's one thing. If you're living it, it's always with you. Your constant meditation on it, or you always see it in your mind when you're dealing with something, or it just pops into your mind like the Nine of Pentacles has for me. On my way over here, I brought my decks with me. One that you gave me on the cover is the Nine of Pentacles.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah, it was a while back. Okay. It was at another actual tea and tarot. But it was with another group. Yeah.
When we used to do them at Arcane Sanctum in the physical shop.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So one of the things that I did I'm gonna readjust this one because I feel like it's not exactly. I'm not seeing your beautiful face enough. That's better. It's still not. Here we go. So one of the things that I did as an exercise for myself a number of years ago was I wanted to get into the core of my being, right? And it was spurred because a lot of I know some tarot practitioners who, when they are doing readings for themselves, they have a card that they feel represents who they are, right? Which then prompted an entire conversation of within myself and with other people about getting to the core of our being and understanding ourselves when we're stripped down what it is that drives us. So some people I know have chosen, would say that the concept of love, or, that's actually a very common one, like, the essence of love is the core of their being. For me, it's justice.
Okay.
So, and I mean, like, throughout my life, that's exactly where I'm in alignment with, right? So, that I always feel that there is a tarot card, especially within the major arcana, that does represent the core of ourselves. Have you ever worked with that concept within any of your...
I've tried to identify myself in the cards if I can. I jump around, honestly. I can't think of one that I identify with the most, other than the Fool half the time. Sometimes Magician, because I really think that I have it under control, and other times I'm like, no, I really don't,
Yeah.
Other times I really feel like I'm more of the High Priestess, where it's kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to be empty and let whatever the hell happens, and let it come up however it's going to come up. So, and other times it could be a random card within the, within the deck. It's like, today I feel like, let's see, the Three of Pentacles or the...
Well... I agree with that I believe we are the total, like the whole of what is possible is within us. We can be the lover, or, the person who creates, or the one who destroys. We have all aspects of that. But I do believe that there is a core aspect to ourselves that is, when everything is stripped down, what drives us and pushes us forward. So when I'm doing a reading, I let the card that is going to signify either, the person that the reading is for, be it myself or a client. But then at the same time, when we're getting down to the, stripping everything down for inner work that is, perhaps the shadow work, that is deeper, there is that one core aspect.
So you name the card you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, but for a reading, or for something that is more of a, doesn't have the same depth, then I would use just whatever it comes up that I've chosen through spirit, essentially.
I got you.
The element of chance that you speak of.
If I had to identify with a card.
You don't have to identify.
No, I know, but I do feel it, so I'll share it.
Oh,
I feel as though it would be the stars. I feel like it's remembering. I think in my work with tarot, it's really helping people remember their greater source. That is something that I feel like, that would be me as a reader. It's like it follows the tower, and oftentimes it's you when you're laying on your back and you're staring up at the sky and you're just like, you're at rock bottom, and you're staring at the stars, and it's just like you are so much more than what you believe yourself to be. There's just so much more. That is where you came from, are the stars. And for me, in a reading, that is always at the heart of what I want to do, is inspire people for their highest and greatest good.
Yeah. I actually, one of the things that I try to definitely speak to people about when I'm talking about the tarot, and I usually, depending on the situation, I will speak about it before we even begin any reading, is that there are no bad cards. The tower itself, yes, it is about knocking shit to its very foundation, but then we're wiping the slate clean, or clearing the canvas, so you can create whatever it is that you want. So there's hope within every single one of the cards themselves. And I actually find the tower comes when the universe has been like, hey.
Oh yeah, then you've ignored it.
Come on.
That shady dude, that you were sitting next to.
A situation you've been meaning to get out of.
That's one that you knew, but you ignored. And then it usually winds up happening. You don't want to build your house on sand, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what the tower is. And that's what also, Mercury retrogrades are great for.
Absolutely.
It's just
doubling
like,
back to that.
It's
Yes.
just like,
yeah, and too, so I do online marketing for a group called Magic Self and Spirit. And one thing that I have absolutely loved with the conversation that happens there is being in dialogue and working with them on the way that they see magic. I love to work with other practitioners because we all approach from a different aspect, right? And one of the things that I find interesting is, we're in the waning moon and about to hit the dark moon, and their belief, the way that they focus on and view the dark moon is very different than the way that I personally look at the dark moon, right? So when we're talking about manifesting and creating, they see that as the space to, where things are formless, that clay that you then create with. So given that we are in Mercury retrograde and about to cross into that dark moon, it gives us, if you look from that perspective, which honestly, whatever perspective you choose, can be true for you in that moment to begin working with. It's like, they speak of wearing the mask, and what mask are you wearing today, right? But having that formless space to begin to create with in that darkness. The tarot can be a perfect focal point, back to the title of what we're working on, for what it is that you want to create and begin
Absolutely.
to work with. And now, yes, the idea of not beginning things in Mercury retrograde, I don't know that I really agree with that per se. I think that we don't maybe have the actual physical actions at this point, but all of that shit that we've been considering putting into action, I am certain what started before.
It is truly at the heart of everything is your intention.
Yes.
Shit's got to get done. And I mean,
yeah.
Fuck Mercury retrograde. If you got to get it done, you've got to get it done. And it's like, if there are challenges and there are loopholes and there are outages, it's just like, how sharper will you be when everything goes direct? It's kind of like, it's kind of like that Hanged Man, or the Odin concept. It's like, hang yourself from that tree if you have to. It's like, how much are you willing to get this done? How strong is that intention of yours? It doesn't always just mean holding on to a feeling. It means getting off your ass and really like getting it done, doing the work. And discipline, that's the other word. It's kind of like discipline can cut through a lot of crap. And it is what it is. I heard one of my role models say, discipline, or affirmations without discipline is delusion. And that's really what that is. That's also a Mercury retrograde kind of thing. It's just like, is it a delusion, or is this really going to come through to fruition? You don't see, the obstacles can be the way sometimes. And it's like, that is what, it can be a challenge, it can be a workout with weights. But when you have things you need to get done and you need to see through, it is like there are no excuses. And Mercury retrograde is just, it's between your ears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So one of the things that I would like to do, I notice there are a lot of people coming in. Does anyone have questions? Please feel free to type them into the comment section, and we will address those. The whole of this conversation, for anyone who is just popping in, the whole of this conversation will be on posted on IGTV as well as on YouTube. So one of the things that, was there any other aspect that, any other aspect that you had wanted to touch upon that we haven't gotten a chance to actually address?
I think we've all kind of, I think we've hit it all. I feel like it could have, for me on my end, I think it could have been a little more organized as far as delivery. I feel like hungry hippos, we're trying to hit every point, and it's just consume. But I think I hit all of them. I think I got all the marbles.
Excellent.
So yeah.
I definitely, I feel like this is a perfect space to, be the week before that I detail out different meditation practices for working with tarot, because that's next week's topic is that I'm going to speak, and you're welcome to come back for that.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be fun.
Yeah, because when I'm teaching tarot, I actually, there are a lot of different ways in which I recommend and working with it in a meditation space, and not necessarily, definitely not traditional meditation per se, but one of the ways, that to really connect with the cards is to dig down deeper within yourself into a different mind state, and being able to then meet the card in essence. So
I love that. Or embody the card, invoke the card.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things that that is the topic of next week. So wow, there are so many people that have joined. It's beautiful. It's great to see you guys all here. Feel free to send a message later if you have any questions, and I will be tagging Adam in the video once it's posted, so that you guys can have the opportunity to address questions directly to him. Additionally, if there is anyone who wanted to be a guest or present a topic, we can do that virtually. Typically, we quarantine similarly, so in alignment, or however you want to say that. But we can virtually have you as a guest here. So just send me a message, and I think I have guest slots that are up through the middle of March, actually, at this point, that we are booked.
Nice.
Yes.
That's
I'm
awesome.
really excited. And but then after that, I am wanting to sign up more people to present the way that they do tarot, the way that they see it, and not just tarot. That's one thing that last week that we did scrying?
You did.
Yes. And then I'm going to have a week where we speak about runes as well. So it is mainly divination. I want to speak with people about how that they dive into their subconscious and and begin to access the fullness of time, it being not a linear space. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. So anyway, my friends, it has been a pleasure to have you all here, and definitely a pleasure to have you here. And
it's been fun. Thank you so much for the space. It's wonderful. I'm happy to be here, and this has been great.
So you do readings as well. If I tag you in this, and someone wanted to get a reading from you, they would just send you a direct message?
They can, yes. My time is very tight right now, but you're welcome to send me a message, and I will get to you as soon as I possibly can. I promise. I don't blow anyone off, so just send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Probably within 24 hours.
Excellent. I usually tell people 24 to 48.
I'll be there.
I feel
It's easy to say I can't, but I'll let you know. Hit me up.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you. And feel free to contact us at a later date. I have to